I love the way he outs the guy. Nobody knows how many bots there are in online games. I should have known better to have a scrolling. That's quite interesting. But you take a game like World of Warcraft. That's an economy of 10 million people. And that's bigger than some real-world small countries. Actually, I think I might pause it. I should probably pause it before it gets to the really racy part, but... So if you're in World of Warcraft and you're competing against bots, because people write bots to play World of Warcraft, and I don't mean to pick on Blizzard here, because any successful online game where you can sell virtual things like virtual gold or magic items on the open market, efficiency counts. And wherever efficiency counts, you'll find bots. And so games like World of Warcraft have bots in them. And that makes it so that players, human players, are competing in this virtual space for virtual gold and for quests against artificial life forms. And this is not a science fiction thing. This is really happening every day. And as more bots appeared and players became irritated, publishers like Blizzard created programs like Warden. And what Warden does is it tries to find bots running on your computer with the game client. And as Blizzard started trying to find bots, bot developers made them stealthy. And it created a classic Darwinian struggle where the predator was chasing the prey, and the prey adopted a strategy of camouflage. And as a result, rootkit technology is now being driven and mostly by games, by game bots, because that's where truly stealthy software is being created on a daily basis in a sort of an incubator. I'll back up one. Now here, by the way, is an example of a botting system. This is one system playing 9 characters in World of Warcraft. So somebody went through the trouble of writing a program that can play the game for you. But in this case, such a person can make hundreds of thousands of dollars in the real world by selling the items that these bots gather. Now, once again, stealth. I was able to sit down with Dr. Gary McGraw of Cigital Incorporated. He's a foremost software security expert. He's also with Greg Hoagland, the author of the books, Exploiting Online Games and Exploiting Software. And he had this to say on the subject of game bots and its implications for security software in general.
The most interesting thing that's happening now is you want to build a botting system that's totally undetectable so that you can have this game be played automatically and you don't have to be there, be present. You build a bot or an AI program to play the game for you. But it has to be undetectable. So a lot of work has gone into stealthiness and hiding processes and things that rootkits traditionally do. The interesting thing that happened is the whole thing shifted, and now, in my view, rootkit technology is actually being driven by gaming exploits. So as an example of how gaming technology is leading rootkits, you can think about an undetectable bot system that uses the fact that most PCs today are multi-core systems. So strangely, the game companies have decided to monitor the game process in user land on the same processor. However, if you use a hardware interrupt and just stop that processor, guess what else stops? The monitoring software. Then you do some other exploit processing on the other core, inject a payload, and off you go. And since there's no Rip Van Winkle monitoring capability yet on these things, you can get away with that and build a insanely undetectable bot these days.
So who would have thought that such sophisticated software would be put towards playing games? And that's why I think online games are the larval stage of something much more serious in both our society and in our relationship with bots in general. This is an animation that shows major botnet activity over a 7-day period in the world. And once again, botnets are armies of compromised computers. Now in red, you'll see the Storm botnet, and orange is the Kraken botnet. And you'll notice as the workday passes, the activity blooms. It's like an algal bloom. It's very much a natural system. Now, this is what I mean about botnets evolving serious stealth, because remember, no one can stop these botnets. No one. Their numbers anywhere from 500,000, and I love this, the upper end 20 million. That's how wide the spread is. Nobody's quite sure how many there are out there. And the creators of these botnets, once again, nobody really knows who they are, but they're a very small number of people who have a great deal of power, because they can rent time on these botnets to either send spam or to direct distributed denial of service attacks against any target on the internet. And that has real-world consequences. I'll give you one example. A company named Blue Security in Herpexia, Israel, in May 2006, this is an internet security company, it tried to defend its clients from an attack knocking their clients off the internet. And the botnet then turned to Blue Security, focused its attack on them, prevented them from connecting to the internet no matter what they did, and they eventually went out of business. And then the botnet turned its attention back on its original targets. That was in Wired magazine in May 2006. Now, Information Week has said that the biggest botnets can knock entire countries off the internet. And the Kraken botnet is estimated to have already penetrated 50 of the Fortune 500 companies. And remember, very few individuals control these, and they're the number one threat to our collective control of the internet, which is worrisome in a way, because bots are increasingly passing for human in everyday communications. Now, by that I don't mean they're passing the Turing test. This is more of a short-form Turing test. You look at the way we used to communicate, writing beautiful letters, like in the 19th century, "Dearest Martha, the children and I are fine." Everybody had different handwriting, and we even had difficulty reading each other's handwriting. But today, very often, OMG, LOL, simple symbolic language. But again, that's not the way we typically communicate. Very typically, we'll go to a website, we'll choose from drop-down combo lists, multiple choice items. These are all things bots are capable of doing. And it's because we're trying to be highly efficient in our communications and accelerate things that it's made the bar lower. CAPTCHAs can also be defeated by bots. Those are the completely automated public Turing tests to tell humans and computers apart. The little squiggly lines at the bottom of a web page. Those can now be cracked in 60 seconds by bots. So that line is blurring. So when we break tasks into bot-like repetition, as we are doing, we remove the value of the unique adaptability of the human brain when we break it down into simple structured systems. Human beings are also programmable, as we've seen in certain social setups. Any society that values obedience and devalues independent thought goes into this category. Now, the disciplines of propaganda and advertising have been honed to a razor's edge to press our buttons and get a predictable response. So if you can't tell a human from a bot, what's to prevent a bot from pushing your buttons, from getting you to react in certain specific ways? Well, you might think that would require that we be visible to bots by moment. And actually, as bots are exploding in size and influence over us, so too is our visibility to them. As a matter of fact, you're probably wearing this handy tracking device. It's a cell phone. Every few seconds, its position is recorded in three-dimensional space. And that data doesn't go away. It accumulates. Same is true of your financial transactions. All of these things build a picture of you, who you are, and what you're doing. Now, Bruce Schneier, the renowned cryptographer and security expert, calls this data pollution. That's the cost of gathering data, storing it, retrieving it, has essentially dropped to zero